you're just tuning in and watching the recording, we're glad to be sharing the news about this fun, exciting trip. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the slideshow. And once that happens, I think like I start sharing and then I probably can't see the chat, but please go ahead and enter questions. And then after I sort of go through the presentation, I'll check the chat for any questions. And also you're welcome to sort of, interrupt and say, hey, Lucy, I have a question, and I'll be glad to answer questions on the spot as well. This is very informal. I just want to welcome everybody and uh, be able to share a little bit about this exciting trip. Um, and so let's get started. All right, so basically, this is going to be a wonderful opportunity to spend time getting professional development credit while you are exploring a really beautiful part of the world. We're going to Athens and Santorini and Crete, and we're going to look at sort of our day-to-day activities here in a moment. And it's also a lot of fun to travel with other people who are artistic, who have been art teachers or just enjoy being around art teachers. We always have a lot of companions and friends that come with us as well. This is a little bit more about me. I'm Lucy Bartholomew, and I've been teaching since 1997, everything from elementary, middle school, high school, and college. I've also been presenting professional development programs for about 10 years. Texas Art Education Association, the National Art Education Association. I've also done some international art educator conferences like in Vancouver and Ottawa and in Turkey and in Cambridge this past fall. And I'll be presenting in the Czech Republic later this summer. So I feel like I bring a lot of international experience to this program. And also in nurturing art educators, because I think that art educators deserve great professional development. Okay, I'm going to hit escape because I think that's the sound that means somebody is waiting to join, admit. There we go. Okay. Hi, I think I just added Talitha back in. So welcome back. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears back to the presentation. And Talitha, I was just introducing myself, and you already know me. You know all this part already, so that worked out okay. All right, so teaching while traveling, I've been leading student tours for over 20 years, going to all these places with mostly high school students and some parents. And then I started doing these creativity tours for art teachers just a few years ago. So here we are in Greece. I've done two creativity tours to Greece in the past. The first one was this very small group here on the right. It went in 2021. We actually were able to go and kind of experiment with this whole idea about being creative and art making while we're traveling. And then we went in 2022 also, a different group of people. Both times I had Demetra as our tour manager, and she is pictured here all the way on the right with a little hat. And she's a fabulous tour manager. And so was our leader, right, to organize all of these. We've gone to some other destinations in between, and now we're coming back to Greece. So I have invited Demetra to be our tour manager in 2026. She has tentatively agreed. She can't confirm because we have to work it out through the tour company, ACIS, when we get closer to the time. But she is the designer of this itinerary, and we work together to modify it a little bit. So I know she will do it if she can. She's got fabulous experience as a tour manager. She's a multilingualist. And she is an artist and she is a teacher. So she is like the perfect person for this program. Her family roots are actually in Crete. She has lived most of her life, I think, in Greece, but she spent her teenage years in New Jersey. She is very fluent in English. She lives in Denmark right now with her family. And she actually has a fairly popular TikTok like program called the Culture Muse, and she's on YouTube as well. So you can look her up there and see all kinds of cool, like these great short videos that she does on location about all these wonderful places in Greece. So you can check that out if you're interested. All right, so let's talk about our trip. We are going to begin in Athens, and then we will we'll be there a couple of days, then we'll go to Crete, and that's this area down here. Hania is the first city, Heraklion is the second city where we'll be sleeping, and then we go on to Santorini. Our trips are kind of all-inclusive, almost all-inclusive, I should say. So the trip includes hotels, ground transportation on an air-conditioned motor coach, ferry tickets, that you can see we're going to be going over the water. And so all the transportation's included, breakfast buffet every day in the hotel, 3-course dinners every evening. There's a festive Greek cultural dinner that's really fun. That's included. Entrance and transportation to all of the sites in the itinerary, which we'll go into some details here in a moment. Cultural activities, all the creative activities, and of course, we'll have a full-time bilingual tour manager who helps with all of the logistics. They take care of the tickets, they tell the bus driver where to pick us up, every single thing. They're with us 24/7. Okay, so our trip will begin on June 22nd of next year. And most people will leave on the 22nd and do an overnight flight. Flights are not included on this tour, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but some of us may decide we want to kind of meet up, en route so we arrive at the same time. So you'll arrive on Tuesday and transfer to the hotel, and we'll just have kind of some downtime in the afternoon. Dinner is included tonight, and the last time I did this type of itinerary in Greece, we had dinner right in like the shadow of the Acropolis. That's the Acropolis there in the top of that image. And this is people from our group right here. Okay, so after like in the evening, probably right before dinner, we will gather together. We'll find a good place on the terrace or in the lobby. And sometimes we take over the breakfast room because it's empty in the evenings, and we'll get to know each other. I'll hand out the creativity, like the art kits that everybody will get while we're traveling. And that's usually like a little watercolor kit, something like this. And I have a new sketchbook I've been like designing and printing out. So I'll be bringing things like that. So you'll get a traveling art kit, and we'll start to get to know each other, and then we'll have our welcome dinner, and then probably people will be about ready to have a good night's sleep after their long travels. All right, the next day, a full day in Athens, we will have a guided walking tour of the Acropolis. And we'll stroll around. Entrance tickets, of course, are included. And so we'll get to spend time there. And then we'll go to the Acropolis Museum, which is about half a block away. And a lot of the things that they have found on the Acropolis are in the museum now. Like these caryatids right here are replacements, and the originals are in the museum, except for like the one, I think there's one that's in London. And so we'll actually be hearing about that. They have a missing spot for her there in the Acropolis Museum. They're hoping to get her back someday. And then we'll have a little bit of free time in the afternoon, and then we'll have our incredible Greek cultural evening. So they'll take us on the bus to this beautiful hilltop, like it's like a giant restaurant, but also it's got all these cultural things that they've set up. So like there's an olive oil press that's like a medieval one, and people can kind of experiment with that, and they'll have traditional food cooking outside. And then we'll go inside and have many delicious Greek foods. They have live music. They do a cooking demonstration, and then they'll have a traditional dance lesson. That's a lot of fun. There usually are some plates smashed as well. So it's a pretty delightful evening to kind of get us started in the Greek culture. Thursday, we will have a creative activity together. We'll do a workshop, probably at the hotel, but if there's a park nearby or something like that, we may go there. We like to experiment with where we are going to get together and make art. And kind of adapt to where we are and creatively engage with where we are, and that kind of makes it even more special. There will be time to explore the shops and the ancient sites in the Plaka. So all around the Acropolis. You can see there's some little buildings right here. All around the Acropolis, there are shops and cafes, and it's sort of lovely, and other ancient sites. And there's what's called the Roman Agora, which is a bunch of temples and things that the Romans built. So that's all nearby. So there's time to explore that each day. And then around lunchtime, we'll go over to the National Archaeological Museum and view some of the most famous highlights from classical art history. So for example, this is like the jockey riding the horse. It's all bronze. It was made by the ancient Greeks. That's me quite a few years ago standing there beside it. And honestly, I was just blown away by how big it is. This is one of those objects that I've taught about that's in the art history books, but when you see it in real life, it just is amazing. And that's another thing I wanted to share with you all. Seeing some of these iconic artworks that we've known about our whole lives is really stunning. So, for example, this pot right here, this giant pot has a scene on it that's like a very famous thing that's in the art history books with the funeral pyre right in the middle. You can kind of see it right here, and these mourners lined up, right? Like that's on the AP Art History test sometimes. I had no idea how huge this pot was until I walked up and like recognized that little scene. So it's exciting. And like this Mask of Agamemnon, it's almost the first thing you see in the Archaeological Museum in Athens, and it's so beautiful. But then there are like a dozen other gold masks right in the same like area in the same room, and things that were made for children. And it's really like so much more, right? It's so much more that you get to take in and see to kind of enhance the things like the art history knowledge that we already have. All right. At the end of this day, we will drive to the port of Piraeus. It's like an hour outside of Athens, and we will board a ship. And then we'll have an overnight ferry. So all that's included in the trip. So I will offer a creative activity this evening. I'm thinking something kind of low key, like we'll do have pastel sketching out on the deck at sunset, or maybe we may feel more like watercolor. But this also may be one of those days where some people feel like doing it and some people would rather rest or walk around the ship, and that's all fine, right? Like the creative activities have some flexibility as far as like what you want to make. And if you're feeling more like you need a rest, then you should take one, right? Okay, we'll have dinner on board the ship. And then in the morning, we will wake up and we'll be in Crete, right? So it's a rather long distance, and so it takes the whole night. But when we wake up, we'll be there. The first city we're visiting is Hanya. It's a CH, but you just kind of pronounce the H, Hanya. And it's an ancient town. It's quite lovely and charming. So we'll have a walking tour there, and then we'll have some free time. And so there is a beach nearby that I will probably be going to. And other people may want to shop or do some sketching. And photography and things like that. I am anticipating having a creative art making opportunity that day as well, but I need to get a little bit more information about how much time we'll have in that afternoon time. And then we'll have dinner with traditional music at a lovely, lovely restaurant there in Hanya. So here's an example. The last time we were in Crete, this was served to us for dinner. And it was served family style, so you could kind of taste the things you wanted to. And if you liked it, you could get some more. And if you had one, and you were like, that's not for me, it's no big deal. And actually, this also, same dinner. This was the same meal. And there was, I think, lamb and also like a roast beef on the table. I think this is like French fries. This was wrapped in like a parchment paper that was full of all kinds of seasonings and things. And then there were lots of vegetables and rice and salad. And these are like little tiny fried a little bit like donuts with a sweet sauce on top. So it was really lovely. Okay, so here's an example of how the professional development hours will work for those who are art teachers who want to get professional development. Um, it would look like this. On Wednesday, we have our guided tour of the Acropolis. So you are learning art history while you are on site, right? And then we'll go to the museum and again have a guided tour part of the time and free time part of the time to look around. We're anticipating having some time for sketching that day and independent art making. And then the cultural experience, the Greek dinner, it lasts for a couple of hours. So I am giving 1 hour credit for that. That's the cultural part of it. That's not so much about eating dinner as like experiencing the culture. So that's 6 hours for that day. The next day, we're going to have a creative art making workshop for a couple of hours. We're going to the National Archaeological Museum, and then we'll have a creative opportunity on the ship. Now, these are estimates, right? So it'll be probably at least 5 hours on Thursday. Some of our time may be longer, some may be a little bit shorter. Some people may want to continue, with working in their art journal and doing some more art making after dinner, and other people may not. So there's some flexibility here. And basically, I keep track of the hours each day. And then I also will keep track of who's there. So usually I just take a picture and that's my record of like who was in attendance for each thing. And then when the whole trip is over, then I will provide a customized personal certificate for you for how many hours you earned. And I also will generate a document that like explains what each workshop is, where we are, and the professional development criteria that goes with that. I have the document that the National Art Education Association generated for professional art educator skills and knowledge. And so I just highlight all of those things. And then that way I can be sure to, cover all of those bases, all the stuff that your admin wants to hear. Okay. The next day, Saturday, we are going to drive across the whole long island of Crete. We will stop in the morning at the village of Vamos, and we will be learning about the historical agricultural practices, honey production, shepherding, and baking. I'm sure there will be some delicious things to taste while we're there. And you can also see the architecture of this very ancient place and kind of look at how architecture intersects with agriculture in this community. And we will continue on. I believe we'll have lunch at Rethymno. And it's another gorgeous place. The Venetians, they took over a lot of the Mediterranean, and some places their architecture is still evident. And this is one of those places. Chania also has some Venetian architecture, especially around the port where the ships would come in. So another gorgeous stop for lunch. And then by dinner time, we will get to Heraklion. You can see the bay here at that city. And again, I'll have another creative activity for us this evening, and we'll play that one by ear. If people are kind of worn out from the drive and the day, then that's fine. But if we get there early and people are interested and have the energy, then we'll get together and do some art making. All right, the next day we will be going to explore the Minoans. So Heraklion is basically the Minoan capital city, and they've got the ruins, the remnants of the palace there. And so we'll have a guided panoramic tour of the city, and also have lots of time to explore the Palace of Knossos. And of course, this is another one of those places that's in all the art history books. I've longed to see this place my whole life, and I did get to go in 2021. I think I was a little overwhelmed while we were there just because of the ancientness of it. And it was a very warm day, and will be warm while we're there too. So, um, anyway, I'm looking forward to going back and kind of taking a slower pace and soaking in all of these beautiful places. And there was also a section that wasn't open when we were there in 2021. So there's like a whole other level of the palace that I have not yet seen. So it's very exciting. So after we get done at the palace at Knossos, we will have a cooking class. And this is another creative cultural activity. This is some pictures from 2021 after we did the baking, and we made some little fried bread type of things. I think we made two different things. And then we had lunch outside, and we got to eat the things that we made. So quite delightful. All right, and on to Santorini. So exciting. I know this is a dream destination. It is such a beautiful, beautiful place. And so I'm excited that we're going to be going. We're staying 2 nights in Santorini. Now, you may have heard some things in the sort of travel news about Santorini limiting the number of visitors per day. And that applies to the day trippers that come in on the cruise ships. And so that's an issue. Sometimes the cruise ships will, they'll pull up at the port, they'll launch, 20,000 people into these little towns, and then they leave again. Sometimes they don't eat any meals. They buy a few souvenirs and they sort of walk all over the land, and then they sweep back out. And so that means that the hotels are not getting very much business that way. And it's just really hard on these very small towns. So they're limiting the number of people who can come in. But we are not day trippers. We're staying the night. So we'll get to enjoy quiet evenings in these really beautiful places and take our time. So the day that we're coming to Santorini, we'll go from Heraklion to Santorini by ferry. It takes a few hours, so that's basically the morning. When we get there, we'll transfer to the hotel, and then we'll have free time for lunch and rest and exploring. And so this will be a great time for some watercolors and photography, shopping, and there are some beaches in Santorini. So we'll figure out which one is the closest if you want to pop it down to the water for a couple of hours. And then we'll meet up again for dinner. And then the next day, we have really a cool day exploring this amazing island. We'll have a caldera cruise. And so the caldera is what they call the deep waters that are sort of on the interior of the island. The island is kind of C-shaped. And the reason it's shaped that way is because once it was a regular island and a volcano blew up the whole center. And so that happened in ancient times, in the Minoan times, probably. And so the caldera, of course, is the hole that was left that is now filled in with the sea, with the Aegean Sea. So we're going to get a cruise on one of these fun little piratey looking boats, and we'll visit the hot springs. I believe these are not the kind of hot springs that you like can get into like a spa. I don't think it's like that. I think it's more like a geological park where you get in, can go walk around and see the hot, bubbling, steamy water and say, oh, there's a volcano under there. So I think that'll be exciting. And then we will go to the ancient excavations of Akrotiri. So this is a society that was there before the caldera blew, and they have excavations. It's really nice. They're inside. They've got these nice rooftops on there, so it's not too hot. You can be walking around inside while looking at the ancient places. And then we're going to go to the black sand beaches. I think this actually looks a little rocky. A lot of the Greek beaches are kind of rocky. So when it comes time to plan our packing, I'll recommend like water shoes or something that you can wear on those beaches. So we're going to go to the black sand beach, and then the Oya village, which is another iconic village. There's Fira and Oya. And so both of them have these beautiful, sort of hillside residences with the white and the blue iconic sites. So we'll go there as well before we go back to Fira for our farewell dinner. Okay, let's talk about the costs. That's always the big question. This sounds wonderful. How much is it? Okay, so the total cost is $53.24. And so you can see the cost breakdown here. That includes the program fee. There's a discount for early registration right now. Then there's an adult surcharge, which I keep telling them you just need to put that in the program fee, but this is how they set it up because this is the same company that does the tour for teenagers, and some of the adult entrance fees are a little bit more than for teenagers. Anyway, that's why that's there. Prepaid tipping is already included, so you don't have to worry about handing our local tour guides any money. And then our tour manager actually gets the majority of that prepaid tipping. And then there's the double room supplement. So they are sort of the standard rate is with 2 people per room. If you have a roommate that would make a third in your room, then you can save that $560. Or if you want a single room all by yourself, then you would pay this amount down here, $875 instead of the $560. Not in addition, instead of. Okay, but the standard price is the $53.24, and it includes all the things that I've described so far: hotel, transportation, all the tickets to everything. And as you can see, this is a little bit of a complicated trip. And also, everybody gets basic trip travel insurance and health insurance included. So, and for most people, that's probably enough. But they do have some extra protection insurance offerings if you are interested. Okay, now there's a scholarship opportunity coming up. One of the reasons I'm having this meeting right now is because ACIS is offering a deal. If we have a meeting, which we're doing, and we get 5 new people signed up in the next 2 weeks, then they will give us a $500 in scholarship funds. And so what I would like to do with that is have a drawing and to share it between 2 people. So so we have 2 weeks. So May 16th, I'll do the drawing, and everybody who's registered by that point will be in the drawing. And so 2 people will get $250 off of their trip. So I'm excited about that. I have been able to do this in the past, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a good incentive to encourage people to go ahead and say, yes, I'm going, and also to get some money off of their trip. Okay. I also have a whole bunch of ideas about how teachers can fund their professional development. We do actually have sometimes teachers are fully funded by their school or partially funded by their schools, maybe half. So if you approach it in terms of, how much would you pay for professional development if I was here and staying at home, maybe they would at least contribute that amount towards your fabulous, inspiring professional development. Honestly, the schools should be thrilled that you're so engaged in your dedication to what you teach for them, that you're willing to invest in a trip like this, and hopefully they will support you. But I have a bunch of other ideas. So it's on my website. There's a button, and I'll show you all that page here in a few minutes, where you can get more ideas for funding your trip. I've been traveling with this company, ACIS, for over 20 years. It stands for the American Council for International Studies. They take good care of us, and they have professional tour managers, and they have professional staff throughout Europe and in the Boston office and several other cities in the US. And I can tell you, when bumps happen in the road, which happens when you're out in the real world, they will take care of us. So, for example, if we're needing to travel from one town to the next and there's a weather issue or a train strike or something, they will take care of us. They'll rebook us in the hotel. They'll provide food and transportation to whatever we need. And that's happened to me before, and they took such good care of us. So I travel with a lot of confidence with this organization. We'll be outside in the sunshine a lot on this trip. It's very healthy and refreshing, I think, to be in such beautiful places. So I'm really looking forward to traveling here with you all. Let's see. I think I probably reviewed this slide already. We should have at least 30 hours of professional development. Some people get a lot more. If you go to extra museums or you're doing extra art making during the trip or like immediately after the trip, you can get more, even more hours. And then like I said, I'll give you certificates, individualized certificates for your hours when we get back. Okay, I wanted to say a couple of things about flights. You can use your airline miles or points or whatever deal you have to set up your flights because everybody's setting up their own flights for the trip to and from Athens. In the past, I had ACIS organizing all the flights, and they were adding a lot of extra fees because people were coming from different cities. And it just got to be pricey. And I thought, this is too much in fees. So that's why I switched gears and set it up to where it's just everyone books their own flights. It's actually much less expensive that way. I will share my flight plans for anyone who wants to join me. I'll be coming from Dallas, Fort Worth. And sometimes, you might start wherever. Maybe we can meet up in New York or something and do the overseas flight together if you want to. But this way people can use whatever deal they want. They can set up the schedule as they like it. And some people want, different comfort levels for their long overseas flight and things like that. So you can set it up the way you want it. And some of you all may want to plan an extension. After we get finished in Santorini, you may want to go to some of the other islands or other cities before coming back. One of the nice things about teaching, of course, is the summer's off. And so once you're over there, you can stay. My opinion is once I'm there, I can stay a long time. And because the flight is usually one of the things that's one of the bigger costs. So it's a good way to extend your trip. I'm planning to go to Naxos, which is another island, after we get done in Santorini. So if anybody's interested in that, we can talk later about, some suggested other islands to go to and kind of have some fun dreaming about that as well. Okay, so to register, as soon as you've decided you want to go, register with $200 down, and that holds your place and it locks in your price and also puts you in the drawing for the scholarship. The company considers a full down payment to be about $500. So about a month later, if you put down another $300, then you're sort of in and your spot is secure. And then you can pay whenever you want, make payments. And the final payment's not due till February next year, almost a year away. There's also an auto pay option if you want to set up to have monthly payments. And they give you a little discount if you do that. And then I was encouraging you all to seek support from your schools, your parent teacher organizations, and other professional organizations that might have grants and things to help you with your professional development. And they also have a crowdfunding feature. So as soon as you're registered, there's a button that says, crowdfunding. And you can encourage your friends and family to contribute towards your trip if you want to, like for birthday gifts and things like that, and kind of share the love and help you organize funding your trip. Okay, so I have shared, I think, on social media and on the NAEA website, there's a link to our website. And then this is also instructions for how to get there. So I am recording this, and then I'm also going to share the slideshow with you all. So it'll make it easy to find your way to the website to get signed up when you're ready. All right, what questions do you all have for me?
Lucy?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me. How many people do you have signed up so far?
I have, there's 5 of us signed up so far. Myself, my husband, and my daughter. And then there's 2 other people already signed up as of today. They signed up, a couple months ago. Yeah.
Because on the website, it says something about these are the prices for up to 20 for 20 people. But if it's less than 20 people, there's going to be an additional cost involved, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's their caveat. They want us to have at least 15 at that little bit higher price, and then 20 ideally. So my goal is actually to have 22 to 25 people.
Okay.
And then I'll cut it off. I think at 20, more than 25 would be a crowd.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it looks beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. As I was looking at these pictures today, it just made me like remember how beautiful it is and just more excited even to go. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. There we go.